How are you?
Good, mate.
How are you?
Good.
It's so
Happy
great
New Year
to
to
have.
you.
Happy New Year to you. And it was this time 1 year ago that Byron
True.
Tazikiak appeared on the show. I was having a little listen
That's
to it this morning, and
Yeah.
great content. Great content. Go back in time to March 2023 and have a listen.
got
It
it,
was great. How are you?
Good. The year started off with a bang. We're already neck deep in a whole lot of different activities and initiatives and things like that. So
Such as?
No, it's been good. Well, video is obviously a big part of it still. So I was browsing over the holidays and looking at my own kind of browsing habits online, and I started to really think, wow, I feel like my business in like the SEO and Google land is starting to become a little bit like defunct here, like video is really taking over. And even like looking at my own browsing habits, I was like, well, like Google is part of the journey these days, but it's not necessarily the whole journey anymore. Video is really taking off there, I think. And yeah, so it led me to kind of this year just really going, all right, I think I saw a post from you saying, it's amazing how many excuses people give when it comes to like creating video and putting video out there. And I was like, oh man, that's still hitting home to some degree, even after what I did last year. So yeah, this year's really been kind of diving back into video and getting stuck into it. You've seen me around on TikTok and some other platforms and things like that. So it's not perfect yet, but we're trying to perfect the strategy there. So yeah.
Is it all about strategy? Because I've seen the stuff that you've been publishing. Is it?
Yeah.
You're kind of doing these things and going, all right, cool. Like it's weird and wacky and kind of different, and
yeah,
is it? Are you really like just approaching it from a numbers perspective and going, right, if we do this, let's measure the result, and go again?
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a lot of exploration in it at the moment. I'm a big believer that people often, maybe this is one of the excuses, but people often talk about, oh, this wouldn't work, or would this work, or would this work? I know my dad, he loved what ifs when we were younger and stuff. What if we do this, and what if we do that? But the truth is that sometimes nobody really knows what's going to happen. So you may as well just start doing it. And even though you look at it and say, well, it's not perfect yet, it's not exactly the way I wanted to deliver it, every time you watch it and so forth, it's like that instantaneous feedback where you're going, oh, okay, cool, I'll improve on that the next time.
Yeah.
Or this video got 700 views. Why did that get 700 views? And this one here just kind of dribbled along at 30 views or something like that. So yeah, there's a lot of trial and error, I think, in it at the moment. We've got a few clients that are also getting stuck into video as well. So it's a nice little kind of video group to get involved with and say, hey, I did this, that happened, and I did this and that happened. So
well, tell me what you are doing, like so everybody knows exactly how you're kind of approaching it. Yeah,
definitely. So kind of my view is, my previous world, just going back a step, was more around blog posts and organic content. Now video, you could still say is organic content, and you could still say it's search engine related. It's just not necessarily Google related in that regard. So my view is that video is the best kind of content to kind of have that omnipresence, and I definitely hate that word, but it's that way of like being on all these different platforms with the least amount of work possible. You can do a 30-second video, a 60-second video, literally have that on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter and X, LinkedIn, YouTube. There's no other form of content that can really do that at the end of the day. So that's my view at the moment, is really just to start exploring, trying to market the business every day, become a better marketer myself, and just to open up the floodgates, hopefully, in terms of what we get back. So,
what makes a good marketer, you reckon?
I think somebody that kind of is willing to go outside of their comfort zone to do things that aren't necessarily a core skill set. I would presume that a lot of your clients, maybe you've got small businesses, maybe you've got some large businesses as well. But I think with small business, you have to kind of put on a lot of hats when you're the owner. And I think video is one of those areas where I've heard so many of my own clients say like, oh, I don't like the sound of my voice, and I don't like this, and I don't like that. But really, if it works, and I did speak to, I reached out to a few people over the summer break just to talk about their TikTok strategy, and one lawyer that I was speaking to, He said for 2 hours per week, he was getting 1/3 of his income from TikTok. That's pretty substantial.
Like organic. Wow,
yeah.
far out.
I need
his number.
That's pretty hard to ignore with that kind of strategy,
Oh, yeah.
especially when you're talking about, say, Google Ads or some other area that's very, very expensive.
Yeah.
And what I liked about it was that he wasn't necessarily, the slickest guy. He wasn't, overly polished. He didn't look like a Brad Pitt or anything like that. He just was an ordinary, everyday guy that was kind of putting out high-value content, not necessarily the sexiest content, and he was getting awesome results with that. So,
So
I
what's
think
high
people,
value? What's your definition of high value content?
Yeah.
What exactly was he doing? The type of content that he was doing?
So his was around family law, so it was all to do with like divorce and child custody and all these kind of areas. And I think at the end of the day, everybody's got specific pain points and so forth. So for me, valuable content is just being able to kind of hit some of those pain points and deliver them some value.
Yeah.
Like at the end of that 30 seconds or 60 seconds, I've learned something that I didn't know before, which maybe redirects me to what I do moving forward. So
was he
that's what I
just
see
doing
as
like
valuable.
a case study? Was it like a case study style? Like you go, oh, I had this client, this is what happened. Right.
A lot of frequently asked question kind of stuff.
Right,
So the fortunate nature, I think, with TikTok, and I was talking to another client about this as well, is that after a certain period, if you're starting to get engagement there, then people will ask you questions, and it really just forms your entire content strategy to say, oh, that's a great question. Let me just point and shoot a video for that and answer that. And so you're basically... if you think about the software world or all these other kind of worlds, it's like if you do exactly what your customer wants and give them the exact kind of information they want, then that's the best way to move forward. Don't come up with some wonderful software update if your customers don't actually need it. Like focus on exactly what they need and deliver that to them. So, so it's a good strategy.
Yeah, I've been looking at the stuff you've been doing and admiring anybody really that's actually still in the sort of 2023 kind of like, oh, I gotta pound it hard, and it's hard when I'm generating leads and actual, so I'm like the lawyer but with ads, right? So I'm just letting those go tick away every day on LinkedIn, and so the predictable lead flow comes in and really predictable cash flow, and I guess it's like hard to ignore when it works. It's like, all right, well, the only thing I'm concerned about is how do we squeeze it? How do we squeeze it harder and make that dollar stretch further? But it's been interesting. Last year, it was, with Christine. I was listening to our previous podcast, and Christine was still on with us this time last year, and everything that went on in 2023, I had to let it go, but. It's now forced me to rethink what our, I guess, schedule for frequency and type of content and all that we're putting out, because it's obviously less resources to be able to do things like podcasts and social media and whatnot, and EDMs. But there hasn't been a huge difference in movement. And that's the thing that's probably got me bemused slightly is... And I am shocked almost to hear that guys like the lawyer is still earning 1/3 of his income through organic posts. And I definitely want to pick your brains further on how frequent he is doing that and all of that. But so I'm in a little bit of a quarry, I guess, is to understand, the value of organic and kind of invigorating my love for it, and trying to get a more predictable formula for success around that, because I don't see. I mean, the ads have always just been the thing that have gotten traction, the thing that have got people talking. They seem to have been just driving activity. And the organics, like, oh, they might watch, they might not. Like, I'm at a point where I'm going, like, why? I've got so much content. Why don't I just keep regurgitating it? Why not? Why am I trying to invent anything? Just 100%. Regurgitating. One thing I do want to add before I stop talking is LinkedIn and the stop telling me what to do, LinkedIn. It's like, it's like every guy on there is like, oh, this is what you're going to do if you want to succeed in business. It's like, oh, fuck, please, give me a break. So it's kind of, now it's a little bit about advising my clients, because I've got some clients who I'm coaching who are saying, what am I creating? What am I creating? Who am I talking to? Is this something that they want to consume? It's like, don't create. Just fucking document it. Document your story. And it's much like what you were saying, right? Get on there and just tell them a bloody story about FAQ or a thing that happened to your client, and just let that go, and make the engineering around that as effortless as possible, and try not to get bogged down in the process too much, So that's where I'm at.
Look, I think all of that's very valid, and I was kind of thinking at it as well. Like you probably saw with some of my initial videos, I was in that land as well. Like, what kind of content do I come up with here? And then, even with ChatGPT and trying to fuel some ideas and get some creative thinking going there, you still sometimes get stagnant just in like, well, what kind of content do I have to create? And I've had a look at people like Gary Vaynerchuk and other big content creators, and it's become like an everyday thing. It's like ingrained into the business that every interaction is an opportunity for content and so forth. So that's the way I'm looking at it these days. Like here, we're having an interaction. It's very easy for me to jump on a call with you and just talk for 30 minutes, an hour, and the amount of content that we can get out of this is unbelievable. All the short 30-second snippets will last us for the next month, basically.
And I'll make sure, I don't think last time, I'm not sure if I actually shared the recording with you, but I'll make sure I share the recording. As well.
No, I appreciate that.
Because you can just go and do your thing at the other end as well, because you'll have ISOs and whatever. So that's more and more, with the coaching clients too. It's like, all right, let's just spend one session and just actually have a chat with each other and talk about business and talk about the things that will excite people and get them understanding behind the scenes a little bit more. I don't think there's still enough of that whole behind the facade, behind the person behind what LinkedIn says that person is. There's like, and that's not for everybody, I might add, but at where I'm at the moment, and the confidence in business, and much like yourself as well, I'm sure, at a point where taking risks is far easier, because there's a high amount of confidence in what the offering is and what the messaging is and who the client is and who we're targeting, the uniqueness and da-da-da-da. So it's like it's not really as risky, I guess, it's not as much at stake, because there's a high amount of authority and understanding about the market and how it works. And I think now, I just got to tell you this, I'm waiting on a new Tesla, and I got it last week, and I'm wrapping it, and I'm putting advertising all over it, and it's the first chance I've been able to do that, because with Brendan leaving last year, I was never really, working out how we could actually do it, make it work in a partnership sense, you know what I mean? Like, who gets the deductions and blah, 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 right? So now that I own the whole lot, it's like, I'll give that a go. Put a nice QR code on the side and do all the advertising and all that. It's not a Rich Films ad. It's a, DIY video like a professional ad. It's it's
only going to look good if you have the DIY kit just plastered on the front of the windscreen or something. So you can be recording video as you go. You got the big light.
I don't have it on the. It was actually proposed to do one of those back window things. You know how they put it over the window and they have like the tiny little micro dots all over them, so you can still see out, but it looks like there's an ad. But on a Tesla, it's so kind of sleek, and it's not real. Like, there's real estate, but because it's so acute, when people are looking at it, I think you'd miss it. And my wrapping guy agreed. So we're going to have to find out another solution. But the kit, the desktop studio is on the side. Definitely, it has to be, because it's it's a curious thing. And then me looking all macho in front of it, as it appears really on the Ridge Films website right now. But just not promoting Ridge Films as much as the DIY, the desktop studio, and you can do this yourself, kind of thing. And I think I've got a feeling it's a very sneaky thing that this will definitely work and will we'll get people buzzing the QR code, and if they get the QR code, then we'll be able to track the lead flow. And that's right. And that's what I'm so amped at that. I'm not so excited about having my face on the side of the car as I am just like when I get a lead, I'll be like, yes, I will do this every day of the week if I'm 100%. Literally a driving billboard. Which is
it's exciting to think.
Yeah. So stay tuned for a fully sick renovation happening on a boring old white Tesla. That looks like every other Tesla.
It's all. If you're not doing Tesla content these days, you're not in the game, I don't think. So I think it's all Tesla content these days. So
well, mate,
anything new.
Yeah, and it's like I'm keen to do something about record your 6, was it like 5 or 6 cameras. I think it's like 6 cameras in there, because I realised I had an interior camera as well. I just saw that this morning. So I'm looking at them in the shop as they're wrapping it today. Wow. I'm just going, and the kids were like, press the fart horn, and freak them out and all that.
That's it.
But
the subscription for new sounds every month. But I was going to go back actually to your previous point about talking with clients and so forth. I mean, your content's always been something I've admired in terms of like slickness of delivery and so forth, always making it super punchy. Whenever we had coaching and so forth, it was about kind of get in, deliver the message, get out and so forth. But I think with maybe what resonates is that value component as well. Sometimes with those shorter form videos, it's harder to deliver the maximum value. And I think some of the value is actually going to come out of like client conversations and things like this. And I actually think for myself as well, we are looking to speak with more lawyers and so forth. So actually having those conversations with lawyers, that's going to help me know what their pain points are, like how they've kind of come to be, how did they get to this kind of position in their business. So I'm going to learn that niche a lot better as well. Plus, you have opportunities for content for both sides as well. So out of this, like for example, in this engagement, I can take content out of this, you can take content out of this. We're both getting content out of it. So I think like from your perspective, it's a win-win. You get a lot of value, you get a lot of pain points to kind of broadcast out onto your social. And it's very easy content, jump on 30 minutes. If you can't do that every week, then I think there's probably bigger issues, So
well, I like the ease, I think, is probably the word I'm looking for. Look, I'm all about, the half hour we spend together should be like, no more phone calls, right? Like this is, if you want to chat, we're recording this shit. Do you know what I mean? And we're going to repurpose it because we, you find on phone calls, you get into these conversations with people and you go, fuck, there's some gold coming out here right now. Like, why are we doing this over a shithouse phone call? I think from a time versus output perspective, I think that's the thing that we've got to remind ourselves is that creating content it requires a lot of energy, right? And yes, I'm sure there's people out there that we go, it doesn't take me long, I just stop. But I look at my wife, man, and she's starting her journey on Instagram, and she spends fucking ages trying to put the description together. She's typing away, and she really puts a lot of effort. And when you read it, you can tell that it's really well done, and it's really from the heart, and she's adding a lot of value and all that sort of stuff. And I'm like, just chat GPT, and she's like, but you've got to get your own, got to find your own voice. And I'm like, well, the voice starts for me in the chat, and then I do the modifications, and it's kind of like draft written for me so that I can then kind of put my spin on it and all that sort of stuff. But as a business owner, as a modern person in this world that is looking at every minute that they spend and how they should spend it, right? Then this utilization of leverage, this idea of constantly looking at leverage, is just so much more important than I think it's ever been. I think we've gotten, last year we got the biggest gift to business of all, and that was an ability to have consistent, clear, well-written messages without the fucking brain space that goes in to creating that. And that was ChatGPT, right? And if you're not putting your persona into, what is it, ChatGPT 3.5, the free version, right, which is what I'm using.
Yep.
Putting your persona in there and the language and how you like to talk and all about you, and really trying to train it to be your voice, then man, you're fucking behind. You know, you're a year behind already. Get into it. Like, start
100%.
using it. Man, it's been so good. Like, I've literally come up with the DIY video like a professional thing that is sitting on the homepage now with all of the services broken out and all of the unique propositions, really the key things that I want people to see. Because I'm aspiring to the Tesla to the Mac kind of simple layout where everybody gets whatever they need, and it's not cluttered and it's not too much information, and here's if you want more, here's where you go. I've built that based on a back and forth chat with Chat GPT on a Saturday while I walk in to give blood. Nice. I've had conversation on the side of the street, back and forth, and have come up with this on a Saturday morning. And I felt like for the first time I've been able to get clarity on it based on having a sounding board that wasn't my business coach or my wife or a colleague, but somebody who I'm not wasting really anybody's time on it, okay? And I'm going through this exploration with Chat, and I guess it does come down to a bit of an understanding as well as to the differences between what and why content, what's unique, what isn't, what's cliched and what's not. You know, all of those things have been from a mature business operator and marketer and understand all of those things. And I would say that anybody coming in new might not be able to get full clarity on that. But I think once you have the maturity in business and understand what your product is and who your client is and how you're selling this to them, then I think this marriage with ChatGPT to be that sounding board, to define those messages is hugely, hugely important, and such a great time saver. You know, and I'm not dissing the marketing firms and they're going to be great and all that, but this is just such an amazing low-cost alternative that can really give a human clarity on what the fuck they're trying to get across.
Yeah. No, I think, I'm a big believer in consistency, and I think ChatGPT, for me personally, helps me to be more efficient and more consistent, because this thinking time, you know, like I can be an overthinker at the best of times, you know, overthink this, overthink that. I think ChatGPT allows you to just go beyond that overthinking, get to a version 1 very quickly. And then I'm always a big believer, like, get to version 1 of something, you can always tweak and improve it and get better there. But if you never get to version 1, then it's just an idea. And, ideas aren't going to get you very far if you don't execute on them. So yeah, I think that's a big part of it. It's getting so much better in so many different ways. I mean, we use AI in literally so many different areas of our business now. It's just a consistent, and it probably goes back to that whole conversation we had at the start too. I'm starting to see now, like, why would you go and search in Google and try to go through 10 listings or something, plus ads, plus everything else, if you can just ask ChatGPT? I ask it everything these days. Even simple things. We're looking at purchasing a house, and I was like, oh, will these 2 cars fit in the garage? One's this car, one's that car. How much space will I have for the doors? And ChatGPT is just sending that back to me, you know. So you're never going to get that from Google, or you're going to have to sit there and have 30 minutes worth of calculations to try to figure it out yourself. It's a phenomenal tool, and I think you're right. Like, every business should be using it. I know my brother, he's just getting into video. We're going to do some video ads around his business, and he did the same thing. Went to ChatGPT, got a kind of script out of there that he could start with, and he's going to kind of, use that as his version 1. So, it's very good just to get out of that thought overthinking process. Just get straight into doing something, get some examples from ChatGPT, and just get started, you know. And over time, like, if you can get to the point where you've trained it in the way that you have, then I think that's even better. You'll hopefully have something even stronger on your very first version. So, yeah.
So is business good for you? Like, it's stable?
It's stable, yeah. It's going very, very well. And we're looking to introduce some new services. So we may actually start to do organic video for our clients in some ways. And, I know a lot of my team have been going, but video, it's a lot of work and it's a lot of editing and so forth. But I'm not necessarily looking to create the next Super Bowl advert for you. I just want to basically get content and get it consistent and start to see the impact, because, we could sit here and spend a whole week on a blog post only to see that it gets very little views and so forth. And that's what I was going to say about your wife as well. Sometimes there is this degree of content perfection where if that content doesn't actually get any views, then you've spent all of that time for basically no impact whatsoever. So I'm more, how can we make it a consistent everyday thing where that content's constantly going out? And even if 2 out of, say, 5 videos gets traction, that's still better than putting all of your eggs in one basket and seeing no impact whatsoever. So yeah, we'll look to introduce some new services as part of the business moving forward. We don't want to be the Kodak as well. Not to say there's not a value and there's not a place for Google. I think there still is, but I definitely see it as changing and becoming, very video oriented moving forward. So, yeah.
I had a question. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? Oh, yeah. So we're a year on, right?
Yeah.
You're looking practically the same, but with a Rubik's Cube in the background. How's it all going?
Yes.
How's the desktop studio and everything going for you?
It's going really well. I mean, I think behind the scenes, pretty much I use video for proposals. So we send out kind of like a digital proposal, and that has videos both as an introduction to that proposal and as a yay, you've come on board sort of thing. It's a nice way to just thank people for coming on board and that we're excited to get started. So we're kind of using in that customer interaction space. We've been still doing our video audits, which I did one just yesterday. It's about 15 minutes auditing a client's kind of online profile. And they just said, there's just so much value here that we haven't got from anybody else, So another just great example. Very, very professional. Yes. We're doing video adverts at the moment, so I'm already getting leads coming through this week, which are coming through from video ads as well. These are some new ones from what we were trying last year. So pretty much everything is video. We're starting to look at something called Go High Level. You talked briefly before about just that lead management type of scenario. Like, how do you deal with all the leads that are coming in? How do you handle them in 6 months or 12 months time if like now's not a good fit for you? And we're looking at that as well. And as part of that, video is going to be included in some of those as well. So yeah, I think video is the future. It's definitely the backbone of what we're going to be doing moving forward. And most of it comes down to just me and just not taking my foot off it. I'm the kind of guy that can go a little bit more introverted when I'm not doing it. So for me, video, I need to keep doing it. And the more I do it, the more comfortable I am with it. So it'll just become part of every day at that point. So
yeah, good, man. And we introduced a video called the post-proposal follow-up video. So what we found was every day that goes by that a proposal's out and either that follow-up meeting is or is not set is like Back to the Future, where Michael J. Fox starts to fade out, dissolve out in the photograph. Every day that goes by, Chris Schwager is dissolving out of their minds. So
I love that analogy, actually.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy to give you one because I always love your analogies. So what we're doing now is deploying the post-proposal follow-up, and it's just another 30 to 60 second little just get in front of them video, basically, is just to say, thanks so much. Hopefully you've received it by now. You got it safely, blah, blah, blah. And just to be there. And the first one I did, the lady replied immediately because it's presented with the thumbnail and all that sort of stuff in an email, right? But she came back, she fired back straight away, and then I realised in the Vidyard data that the video hadn't been played. So just by virtue of being there, having that face in the email, in the thumbnail, is enough. Without having to fully over-engineer a video. And I think, again, back to the point of just getting on there, talking from the heart, not with no predefined script necessarily, but just showing up and showing that you give a shit, that they're not a number and you haven't just kind of like put the proposal out and now give us your money. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's been good so far, and we'll be continuing continuing with that just to see what the real impact is over time. But again, it only works because it's it's a 30-second unscripted. It takes less than 2 minutes again to do, and it's a fairly easy exercise to do, and it makes the world of difference, really. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think if you can get to the point where it's just it's so kind of regimented in your business where it just says, "Yep, Chris, you need to do this video now." Oh, okay, cool. 30 seconds, bang, press the send button, away you go.
Yeah.
I know you spoke about that in the past, just making it very, very quick to do these things. Don't overthink it too much. The video is, just sending the video is a great first step, and as you say, sometimes they don't even watch it, but it just shows that you've done more. You wouldn't want to take the car into the mechanic and say, "Hey, I've got this rattle in the engine," and they're just like, "Yeah, it's $10,000 to fix it." Hang on a second. You didn't even pop the hood there to see what it was going. I just know it's $10,000. No worries whatsoever, So I think it's the mechanic scenario where you're actually putting a little bit of effort to drive around the block or pop the hood just to see what's going on, So
I have just discovered a company, and my US client in New York, I'll give him another mention, Ben Camille from Travel Defend, has put me on to a company called Gan.ai, so GAN.ai.
Okay. Oh, I think I know where you're going.
Okay, well, this is very few companies have surprised me, and I'm not going to flog the shit out of these guys yet because I only saw them this morning. But it's again another one of those. Okay, record your message, and then here's a script to read out on video, of course, so that AI can train. You can train AI to be able to modify the words and the language and stuff like that. So that when you swap out the name and the company, it's going to handle the process really well, and it appears seamless. Now, I've seen examples. I've seen the examples on their site, and they've shown me all that, and that's all great. But I'm going to try and get my client, Ben, to go through and test it out and see how it goes. But the idea here is for businesses that want to do personalization in video at scale, then this would be potentially a solution that they'd have to pay for, okay? But it would mean that they could get in front of, thousands of people rather than one at a time like I'm currently doing. So far, so good. But I'll keep you posted on the progress of that. I know that there'd be a lot of people that would be very interested to understand how that goes. My apprehension on all of these platforms and all these types of high volume personalized approaches has been around the cost in money and the cost in resourcing to set it up. So that effortless streamline from the input that it's getting, so from a CRM to a personalized video in an email sent. What's the cost, the engineering setup cost of that? And I with it, mind you, with a process that is completely untested. So it seems like, this is amazing, this is going to be excellent, this is going to be sweet, but the setup could be so great to get it right and to make sure that it works and that there are no bugs all through it. Could be so epic for an individual. They'd be like, fuck, I got 600 fucking videos out. All personalised, but it took me a freaking day to collect all the data to, figure out, get it all plugged in together. So watch this space. I'm not saying no, but I just want somebody else to do the engineering, the groundwork, and give me the thumbs up so I can launch it.
Can do it, yeah. It's interesting you say that actually because we use a lot of cold email and it's been pretty good with targeting law firms and things like that. And part of cold email, some software called Lemlist, is that you can inject customizations onto images and so forth. So if I'm holding a laptop here, I can actually show, the Rich Films website on that laptop. So it gives a degree of personalization when that image comes through. So you're kind of talking about that from a video sense. And I have thought, how can I add value here without having to create 600 videos myself, So that kind of thing is very, very cool. The other thing that I saw over the holidays was just the whole AI avatar, where you can basically like record your face and it kind of looks at you from different angles and then creates an AI kind of representation of you. So I kind of see that coming in as well. Probably right now it looks a little bit like going back to the early 90s and looking at CGI. Just something looks a little bit off with it. But moving forward, you know, these CGI kind of AI representations of ourselves where you can just feed it a script and it says whatever it needs to say.
Yeah.
That's probably also on its way, I think. So
I've got a report on the, I can't remember the name of the company, but I presented last year, and I thought I'll go on and sign up to one of these AI personalized. You know, you put your script in, and she reads it out for you.
Yeah.
I think I recorded the whole process at about an hour to output 15 seconds of video.
Okay.
And it was from a fucking full-blown robot bird, like, you know, like the full robot voice, right? Like, fucking, there's no fucking attitude there at all. Like, she's as fucking cold robotic as they get. Yeah,
no personality.
And my report was this: great for LMSs and like, hey, get a human, you know, kind of easy, right? But not at the cost of 1 hour per 15 seconds. That seemed like they'd have to definitely try and ramp up that speed. But for something like putting it on your website, oh man, fucking hell, like it's dry as fucking shit. You know, it's hard. It's hard to watch.
Definitely.
So but anyway, like there's lots happening. I reckon we're still a little bit on the immature phase of it, but we'll see where this GAN.ai goes. And
I think it's definitely on its way. Personalization for video content just makes a lot of sense, I think, with a lot of different strategies these days. So we shall see. But I think, I don't know. If you're not doing video, I mean, that goes to all your listeners as well. If you're not doing video, or you have one of these DIY kits and you're hesitating on using it every single day, I don't know. That would be my goal for February. Just every day, see if you can do a snippet, whether that's taking from existing conversations or, you know, using the DIY kit for what it's used for, you know. Just get that content out there, because I think everybody's holding themselves back. I said to myself the other day, if I don't do this video content, some like 21-year-old whippersnapper that's just come straight out of university, he's 100% going to do it, no issue whatsoever. So, you know, it's time to catch up, or you're going to shelve yourself, I think, at the end of the day. So
I think what's good about what you've said, you know, 1 year on, is that you are demonstrating your capability to extend yourself beyond just going, I've got to do another social media video, right? Like, you're talking about using it in your sales and your marketing and, you know, bloody getting on there and skilling up and getting familiar and getting confident and building that muscle memory, you know, and that's a part of what this is. I don't think it's not all about the tech and all about the delivery and all about the results. It's a lot about building habits. Is one of our 2024 values. Correct. Build habits. Get that habit built. You know, make it so that it's not a thing. You know, I sit down, put these installs together for people, and they go into their offices and whatever, and they're like, "Oh, the lights. Oh, jeez, it's going to take a bit of getting used to." It's like, fuck yeah, of course it will. You've just got a fucking studio in your desk now. Like, it's a big deal, right? But like all stuff, the more you do it, the easier it becomes, and the more the more exposure you have to leveraging its full potential. Like, you know, I've got clients saying, "Oh no, I'm not definitely won't have no need for." Even last night, I was talking about putting a full studio in for my business coach, and he's like, "Oh, I don't see myself using it for any coaching," and I'm like, at some point you'll go live on this. There's no fucking doubt you'll be live on this, and you'll see that because of the nature of, like, the accessibility of it, that it'll open up more opportunities than you think once you've got it in place. Like, once that you realize, hey, I don't have to set up a light or a camera or the sound. There is no excuse to putting out videos. It really just comes down to time and a bit of ingenuity and understanding where I can apply this in the business.
Yep.
And I think that's the most important thing. It's just taking out that tech variable, the idea that you don't need to frame yourself up and look and like try and figure out like all that's removed. Then it's like, that now businesses are immediately focused on application. It's like how, which is like application is the number one killer to bloody people harboring and taking on new information. It's like the implementation, if they can't implement, it's gone. Like, there's a long, steep learning curve or road ahead of them to try and do it, right? So they've got to be an implementer. Yeah. They've got to be capable of doing new things in the business to make it different and make it work and make things more streamlined. And so I think that's probably anybody that's failed at video is probably because they just never been able to work out that flow and get that process down and but understand the variables and go, okay, cool, I've figured that out, great. I don't have to figure that out again. I don't have to do that again.
Yeah. And I think back to our original conversation, if I could say that 2 hours of time per week, you could get 1/3 of your income or get an additional third or something like that into your business. When we can jump on a call like this, Riverside, I think, is perfect for these kind of scenarios. Even in your coach's example, have your calls, do them via Riverside if you have to, get the content for both sides, join that together. You get an offshore team member to basically, mash that together into some video content and deliver it out to the interwebs and all of your different social profiles. I mean, that's as easy as it gets to have like high value content getting delivered out pretty consistently every single day. I don't know, and all you need is one of those videos to probably get 1,000 views or 10,000 views, some comments, some engagement, maybe a lead out of it, and you're like, hang on a second, this strategy is actually working here. This is actually very effective, and I'm not putting a lot of effort into it. So yeah, I think the potential there is huge. And I don't know, if you've got enough business coming in, fine. But if you haven't got enough business and you sit there saying, like, I wouldn't mind some more leads today, well, then you probably should be doing video. And that's it.
That's your next ad, bro. That's what you should be doing on your next ad.
100%.
Why am I getting leads? That's what you should. That's the sort of shit you should put in there. Because if it evokes an emotional response, which it did in me, then I think it'll evoke a response in random cold people out there. Interesting, right? Always looking for new ways of doing, not the done for you sort of sales ad, but something that I don't know. I got money.
That's a hard thing too. That's a hard thing in terms of finding like who you are on camera and so forth. And I presume that some of that's going to come out after a period of time where I'll just be, it's just going to feel more relaxed and more natural the more often it's done, or the more conversations you have like this where you're just like, just be yourself. Like, don't try to be somebody different on camera. But it's a difficult thing. It's not something that naturally happens. Not for me anyway. Maybe for some other people, but it's something you got to work with it. And I think over time, the more you do, the more that natural side's going to come out, and you'll get a few more of those moments, I think, happening on video. So.
Well, Byron Tazikiaks from Pixel Rush, probably should have said that right at the start, but he's the SEO guru down in Melbourne, and I'm yet to meet him face to face, but we've had plenty of really great chats over video calls. Next time in Melbourne, we definitely will want to catch up. But Byron, if you're looking at SEO or even some tips around SEO and how you can leverage your website more effectively, there's just so much capacity to get to extend your website into a sales tool, and Byron is your man for understanding how to do that further. So make sure you check him out. I'll put the link in the show notes of this podcast, of course, and YouTube video. And Byron, I would just say to you, thank you, sir, again for jumping on a call. I always love our chats.
They're always good.
And we've had.
I'll appreciate.
There's a lot to digest too out of today. A lot very AI focused, I think, but also a bit of business mixed in there as well.
Yeah, bit of business, bit of video consistency. We've got a bit of everything in there, but I'm looking forward to the content just as much as you're looking forward to it, Chris, because I'll be putting it out on my socials later as well. So I think we can put out some good content. So come along with the ride with Chris and I. Hopefully we'll show you some better ways of doing video more consistently, I think.
And if I haven't already shared last year's video with you too. I'm sure it's still on Riverside somewhere. I'll dig it up and I'll get it uploaded.
Definitely.
Yeah, cool.
100%. Any video you've got, then I'd love to see it. We'll definitely get it out there. So
yeah, good. Hey, Byron, thanks again, brother.
Thank you very much, Chris.
This
Have
is
a great
conclusion
week.
of our show.
Amazing.
The DIY video for professionals is the new name, by the way. We've just
professionals.
Rebranded.
We're very professional, you and I, Chris, out of all the people I know. So
yeah, thank you. And I think it could be, I think it could be called DIY. I was thinking, why should it be DIY video for professionals? Can't it be just what it is on our site right now, which is DIY video like a professional? Mm-hmm. Because now I'm thinking, fuck, with this image and the desktop studio and the message, I'm so amped up to go, okay, it's the podcast, it's the website, it's the side of the car, it's on the email, you know what I mean? And really just drive that consistent message across all areas and just keep it all harnessed. So, if someone does QR code the car or whatever, they get to the site and they're like, that's the car I saw, that's the guy, that's the thing I saw. Like immediately there's a representation, iconology and visuals there that match what they remembered seeing. Like, I don't have a fucking pink car. All right, so let's. I had my kids were trying to talk me into it, and I had somebody brand specialist say, "What the fuck are you talking? Don't ever fucking do your car in pink. Yes, it'll stand out, but there's no cohesion. There's no cohesion with the thing.
They're going to have some brand strength there.
Correct. There you go. So anyway, so I'm now kind of circling back again for the first time in 22 years to going, righto. I want this to be recognizable when they are visiting multi-facets, multi-platforms of their search kind of journey, and making sure that it's like very, very sticky to them and like, yeah, that's the guy. And that's the guy I remember seeing, that's the guy that fucking cut me off in the traffic.
Once they try to code, once they go up to scan the barcode though, that's where all the Tesla's cameras turn on. So there's me just like,
that's
getting
good.
it. And that's footage. Even if he doesn't get a lead out of it, Chris is going to turn it into footage. So
so I should have a little disclaimer saying, you are being filmed. This will be used on social media. Sign this waiver. but also, what'll be good is I'll have their image, so I'll just use some facial tracking to actually go and hunt them down on LinkedIn, and then I'll go like if they
Chris
come to me or not.
You turn up at their house, just your face sitting out the side of their house for the next week, So.
I just keep the cameras running, just keep the what is it, the sedentary mode running.
Stalking a prospect for 7 days.
Exactly. That is brand recall. Well, it's like, why will I took a photo of the QR code on that car like 6 months ago, and it's still sitting out the front of my.
Still sitting there.
Wow. And when self-driving happens, then I'll just be able to recall my car and just have them come back and pick me up. Right? It's no big deal. They could just be anywhere. Advertising all over the place. Anyway,
I like it.
I had wrapped up about 10 minutes ago, but I'm definitely wrapping up now.
We launch back into it. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you. Okay, good.
Appreciate it.
And